Hi everybody, this is Oksana and today we're going to be making this really fun pendant. I really like the look of this. I don't know why, it's just something about it. Isn't it so cool? So I'm calling it the tall bail pendant, but the bail is actually just a normal bail up here. But there's this tall portion between the bail and the stone, and it gives it kind of a unique elongated look. So before we get started making this, I just really quickly want to say that I make and sell my jewelry on my website, www.oksanacrafts.com. So if you're looking for a piece of handcrafted jewelry, I hope that you will consider supporting me and buying a piece that I've made. And I ship all over the world. So anyway, let's get started making this pendant. So the wire that we're going to be using is 20 gauge square copper. It is dead soft and you're going to need 3 pieces. They're going to be fairly long for this design, so let me just measure. 14 inches. My stone is an Azurite-Chrysocolla and it's this uneven shape. And I wanted to use this shape because I always get questions about wrapping these kinds of non-standard shapes, and they're wrapped basically the same way by bending the wire frame around the stone. So your stone can be any shape. This one is kind of like a teardrop, like that's just missing like this portion. So if you wanted to wrap a little teardrop, it would be the same. If you wanted to wrap a circular or an oval stone, it would be the same, but just on the bottom, your frame would be a little bit rounded. You wouldn't have this point. So you can use, whatever shape stone that you want for this design. It's about 22 millimeters. But whatever stone you use, I would just make sure there's some space at the top for tucking away wires. Like I'm positioning this point down because if I were to position it point up, when I bend my wire frame, there's no gap left here at the top. But if I do it this way and I'm bending my wire frame, there ends up being a little gap here. So that's the only thing, is you want a gap, but other than that, you can use whatever shape that you want, and it could be a different size as well. I'm just using a little one because this pendant is already going to be kind of tall with that extra bail, so this way, using a smaller stone, the pendant ends up being not too large. So my weaving wire is 24 gauge half round, and I'm just keeping that on the spool. It's dead soft copper as well, and I'm grabbing my 3 wires here in the middle, just lining them up, making sure it's the middle, and just wrapping this around a few times. My wire is still connected to the spool, but if you feel more comfortable, you could just cut yourself a little piece of wire, maybe like 4 inches long, and that will be adequate. You don't need to do this for a super long time or anything. This is just to make sure that these 3 wires stay together. So now I'm going to grab my pliers. So the tool that I just used to cut was wire cutters, and now these are pliers, and this is the Lindstrom brand tools, and they came in a kit from Rio Grande. Alright, so if your stone does not have a point on the bottom, you would just start kind of curving this. You want wherever your little wire ends are, that's where your stone is going to sit and cover them up. So say you have like an oval stone or a round stone, you would start curving this and then shaping it around your stone. But because my stone has a point on the bottom, I don't want it to be a curve. I want it to be a more distinct point so that my stone sits inside of it and there isn't like a gap. So I'm making a point with my pliers, and now I'm checking to see if it's pointy enough by putting my stone in there. All right, I think that's good. And now I'm just holding the stone, kind of pushing it this way against that point, and then bending my wireframe. You want to set this down on a flat surface like the table. That would be easiest. And just bend your wires around like this. So now I'm just trying to find the middle. Like if I went just straight up the middle, it's a little bit difficult since the stone is uneven. The middle is going to be kind of not where it seems. It's going to be a little bit off to the left here. So like this, I brought my wires together just by kind of bending them side to side like this. So we can remove the stone now, and we can actually just reinforce these bends a little bit by coming in here with our pliers and bending that just a little sharper, and then also just pressing on them this way. You want to make sure that your wires have not switched positions, that they're all right next to each other still, and that here they're like stacked on top of each other. You have 3 wires from one side, 3 from the other. Nothing is crisscrossing. It's like this little stack of wires. I want to hold that together, and now we're going to take our weaving wire again, and we're going to just wrap around that a bit and get it started here. All right, so that's connected nicely. So now we're just going to tuck that through the middle. And then here, where it's been tucked through, I just cut it really, really short so that you can't see the little wire end. So with this design, because we want to have a really tall bale, the easiest way, or what I like to do, instead of just making a bale as normal, like normally I would pull the front 2 wires and I would go ahead and just wrap around them, and that would be my bale, and I could just wrap really long and I would make just like a really tall kind of loop. But I want the bale portion to remain small. I just want it to be higher up instead of just making a giant bale. So what we're going to do is we are going to keep wrapping around all the wires and not make our bale yet, but on our way up, as we're wrapping around the wires, we want to set some wires aside for ourselves for decorative purposes. So I'm going to take the back 2 wires and I'm just going to bend them to the side. I'm going to bend them to the right side because I'm going to swoop them across, and then there's kind of, if I grab my stone, you'll see the gap is bigger here because my stone is a little bit uneven. So I just kind of want them to swoop here in this direction, but that's just like a artistic choice. You can do it however you want based on your stone, and you can do the decorations differently as well, different types of swirls and things. So now that I've set those aside, I'm going to continue to wrap around the wires that are left there, which is now 4 wires. So I'm just continuing that little wrap, and then I'm just gonna grab my pliers and push that down a little bit. See, there's like a little gap there. There we go. Fix that gap. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to do this for a little bit longer. All right. So that looks good to me. It's about the same length as this little area that we did. So now I'm going to set aside the other back 2 wires. You can just bend them back like this, and now we're gonna wrap around just these frontmost wires. So now that we have only 2 wires left, we are making the actual bail. So up until that point, this has all just been like an extra little bit to make it the pendant extra tall. But the bail itself starts here, and it's just going to be made of those 2 wires. So you just want to make the size bail that you want. I usually go for 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll be back. Alright, so now I'm just going to trim that wire end, and I want it to remain here on the back. So if we're looking at our pendant, this is the front, and the wire end is going to be here in the back, and I'm just pressing down on that whole little wrap that I made. So now I'm going to secure the stone in. So this is what it looks like right now, kind of a funny looking pendant. So I'm popping my stone in, and I am just bending the backmost wires onto the stone like that. And now I am just kind of separating out these frontmost wires with my nails, because it's hard to put your pliers in there when there's no space. So I make space, and then I can get my pliers in there, and I go down to the bottom here, and I just make this sort of bend, and then I press down on that bend. And I'm gonna do that on the other side now. Perfect. Let me see here. All right. Then I'm just gonna press down on everything. Here's how that looks. So I'm just gonna have these wires going to their respective sides, and I'm gonna work on the bail. So this is my bail. I'm gonna bend it into that bail shape. Like this. Okay, so now we can see the total height that our pendant will have. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist some of these wires just for fun. Since they're square wires, they can be twisted. So I'm just gonna twist this one here by holding it with my pliers. And as I hold it still, I'm turning the actual pendant, and that gives the wire this twisted sort of look. And the longer you do it, the tighter the twist gets. So it's up to you the type of twisted look that you like. If you like it a little bit looser, or if you like just like a really tight looking twist. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work with these 2 wires. So the one of them that is most in the front is this twisted one. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna bend it across, and then make like a little swoop like this. And I'm just going to make a little swirl just to fill in that little empty space we have going on there. And I'm just using my pliers to tighten up that swirl, make it a little smaller. It's kind of hard to do with your hands past a certain point, but then pliers really help. So I am just bending that to the back like this. And now with this wire, I am following that, just going up next to it and bringing it to the back like this. So now we're going to do this other side. So I'm going to bend it as well, and also make a similar kind of swoop, but now this other one prevents me from making it too big, so I just kind of have to end it there. And now with this wire as well. Like this. So I'm just trying to, there we go, squeeze that in above these ones here. And now that I have that, I'm gonna bend these wires to the back and kind of like around the back. Here's our bail already coming down, so it's just going around those. Ooh, I moved out of place a little bit. So I think I might need to hold it in place while I bend the wires. There we go. Perfect. So this top one here, I'm gonna trim it, but I'm leaving a little wire end. And before you trim yours, just see what I'm gonna do with it so you can kind of gauge how long you need that wire end to be. So I'm bending it towards kind of itself like this, and then I'm pressing it down. So now the wire's kind of going around and then it's just ending here. And because we have this wire, the wire end is going into it and not just like sticking out. You don't want your wire end to stick out and be pokey, so this is a way to kind of hide it. I'm just messing around with this, like that. So now with this other wire, I'm gonna bring it across, kind of all the way across, like this. Let me try to hide that wire end a little better. It kind of moved out of place. There we go. So I'm thinking I'm gonna twist this wire. All right, so now that I've twisted it, I am just going to follow along that other swoop. I'm just trying to get the right curve. There's like a little bend and it's not quite the right curvature. I'm being kind of perfectionist about this, but I'm just I just want to follow this along like this. There we go. So now there's 3 wires here, the 2 from before plus the one that I just added. So what I'm going to do now is with probably all 3 of those wires. You can, I was thinking about cutting and tucking one away, but I think I'm just going to do all 3 because there's a lot of space here. I'm just bringing them around, so they're going around the back, then to the front again. Here they are, all 3 of them. And now we're bringing them to the back, so they've just like looped around entirely. And now I can trim all 3 of them and tuck them away. So let me just move these wires so that I can tuck away without them being in the way. So I'm pushing the wires in there. You can just do one at a time. And then press down on them. Press down that little wire end. So it looks like this. I know my bail's kind of moved, so we can fix that. It might move for me just like squeezing on it as I do other things, and then we can always go back and fix everything up at the end so it's not tilted. But here's how it's looking so far. And now we just have these 2 wires here, so you can finish them off in different ways. Since I still have more space, like more gap there, I'm gonna bring them this way across the front. I think it kind of goes with the shape of my stone, kind of slanting like that. And one fun thing to do, that's of course optional, is to take your half round wire and sort of decorate your square wire by wrapping your half round wire around it. So I'm just getting it started by making some wraps, and then after you've made some, just to stabilize it, because otherwise it's just going to slide around everywhere. But after you've made about this many, I'm going to press down that little wire end, and I'm going to slide this whole thing down like that. And then I'm going to keep going with it for a little bit because I want it to just reach all the way across here when I bend it. So it's just a decorative thing, like we twisted the wire for decoration, now we're doing this. So that's totally optional. So once I've done that and it's long enough to reach across, like I've tested it by, putting it this way and seeing that it reaches, I'm going to just press on that little wire end, have it go across like that, and now I'm going to cut and tuck it away in here like that. So this whole time we have not used our round nose pliers, and you can just bring this wire to the back and trim it and get rid of it just like we did with the wires above. Or if you wanted to use your round nose pliers, these are the Lindstrom Rx 7590. I'm just squishing the tip of my wire and I'm making a little swirl. And of course, if we make a swirl, we have to attach that swirl, because otherwise it just will lift right up and get caught on everything. So I'm just pressing on it to flatten it, and now I am laying it down where I want it to be, kind of seeing how that looks. So to attach the swirl, we'll need a little piece of half round wire. There we go, just a small piece like this. And with our pliers, we're going to slide it under with the flat side facing you. That way when we wrap it, it's going to be the half rounded side that shows. So like this, get a little end of it. It's probably like 4 inches long. So we're taking the whole wire, we're taking the little wire end and we're just pushing it through to attach. So we've just made one little wrap, and I would probably make four little wraps like this to attach. Oh, I'm having trouble getting it under there. There we go. I think what happened is the tips of my pliers, see how they don't come flush together, because they're very thin and I accidentally curved one of them by probably bending like a wire that was too hard, and so now I'm having trouble grabbing the little tiny end here. I have to grab it kind of further down. Alright, so that's 4 wraps. I'll have to just fix up those wires later. Those pliers later, I'm just tucking away that little wire end. I'm just kind of curving it in there and pressing it so it's going just around, like it's continuing its normal path. So now we don't want this to move out of place because we tucked away the wire end, so we're going to hold it and then we're going to raise this wire sticking up, if we didn't hold it, the whole piece would turn and the wire end would probably be visible instead of being tucked away. So just sliding that up to where our swirl is, and now we're just taking this wire and sliding it underneath the swirl and also underneath this little side wire, like this. So that is how we attach it. And now you just need a few wraps, again, just like 4 we did on the other side. That is more than adequate, so let's just do that. And now we can trim it. There we go. And now we can take that little wire end and just tuck it away. So now the piece is pretty much done. You just want to fix up the bail. Sometimes it just kind of turns as you're working with everything. Yep, that looks good. That looks all straightened out. So here's how it looks. Let me grab a cord necklace. So here it is, the finished pendant, and here's the back of it. So thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope that you will give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel. I post wire wrapping tutorials every single weekend, so thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!